Am I the a-hole for scolding my struggling sister when she gives us grief about adopting a baby? My sister, 35 female, and her husband, 37 male, have been struggling with infertility since they got married 12 years ago. They've tried absolutely everything, from medical to spiritual, but unfortunately nothing works. Now that she's approaching late 30s, they're starting to look into adoption, but it's also been a slow going since their financial condition isn't exactly stable from multiple rounds of fertility treatments they went through. I can only imagine the struggle, and I sympathize with her, but the stress the situation is bringing her and her husband honestly puts a strain on our relationship. My husband and I, both 30, lost our best friends, Mason and his wife Kate, 2 weeks ago in a horrible car accident. They left behind their son Pete, who isn't even 2 yet. It was so sudden and so heart-wrenching. We're all grieving, which lowers out contact with a lot of people, including my sister and brother-in-law. Our main concern right now is ourselves and Pete, whose custody has come to us because we're both his godparents, actively engaged in Pete's life since his birth, and because Mason and Kate have neither left a will nor have immediate living relatives who can take him in. We've decided to adopt Pete as soon as we can stomach the process. My husband and I never planned on having kids, and even if we did, this is absolutely not the way we want to go about it. The situation is far from ideal, but we're starting the adoption process yesterday for Pete's safety if nothing else. We broke the news to our extended families and friends, letting them know that my husband and I won't be very available for a little longer because of this. I know my sister and brother-in-law will have something to say about this. I'm prepared for a few heated text messages or voicemails. However, I didn't expect them to turn up on our doorstep, crying about how unfair it is that we were given everything they wanted, and how we didn't deserve to be parents because we didn't go through what they had to. I've never seen my husband so angry before. He's usually very mild and gentle, but recent events have stretched our patience to the limits. We kicked them off of our porch, and I told my sister before she left that since our pain inconveniences her so much, I won't have her around me and my family at all anymore. I know she made a fuss about it, and now everyone has something to say to us. We turned off our phones, so we don't know which ones are cursing us and which one aren't. I know some did/are. My husband and I are both in pain and grieving, and we can't trust ourselves to be objective. Did we go too far? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Hey, adopted kid here. I can give you tips on how to be an a-hole if you want to be, because this story inflames me anyway. Your sister and her husband, much like my parents, tried everything else before even considering adoption. That makes their future kid their very last option. They clearly would rather have their own child. This attitude disgusts me personally, but whatever, I guess that's normal for society. Pete is your first option. You sacrificed the lifestyle you wanted to have for him. You chose his life before the future you envisioned, not as a last-ditch effort. Guaranteed you'll be a better parent. You will be the a-hole if you told her this, and honestly, I encourage it. This comment is beautiful and says everything I thought and felt reading this post. I hope you're not the a-hole, and I strongly advise a major distance from this deeply selfish, narcissistic behavior from your sister and brother-in-law. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but that's just disgusting behavior from your sister. You got everything you wanted? Your close friends died, and you have to go through an unexpected adoption for their son who is now orphaned. I know she's stressed, but that's just horrible what she said, honestly. At the moment, I was absolutely disgusted too. My husband was too, judging from his face. Like I said, I've never seen him look at anyone like that. It's like a completely different person. I'm afraid I must have looked just like him then too. It's really shocking when you find out your family has a bunch of victims and narcissists. A tragedy happened, but no. This is about them and their baby troubles. I haven't spoken to many of my family members since I was 18 to 24. I'm now in my mid-30s as well. It's not easy, but your life is better when you surround yourself with people who actually give a damn if you're hurting or not. Get angry. Feel angry. You should be angry because what they're doing is making it about themselves when it has zero to do with them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my nieces and nephew live with us? I, 25 female, am married to James, 31 male. We've been married for 2 years and have always planned on having maybe one child. This decision has always depended on us being financially stable. Unfortunately, James's older brother passed away suddenly about a week ago. He had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. Their ages are 3, 5, and 6. Their mother sadly died from complications arising from a C-section with her youngest. I've just found that we are named in James's brother's will as the ones who wants to take care of the kids. Apparently, my husband okayed this without discussing it with me, thinking that nothing would ever happen to his brother. He already knows he is unbelievably silly for doing this. I've tried to reason with him about it. We live in a miniature 1-bedroom flat. It is on a main road with no garden and is completely impossible to child-proof. We also cannot afford childcare, so one of us would have to stay home with the children to make it work. It would have to be me as my husband earns considerably more than me. If there was no other option, I'd try my hardest to make it work, but my husband's parents have 2 spare bedrooms and live in the countryside right by where the kids lived with their dad. They have experience raising children, but wants us to raise them as it is what their son wanted. They also said this is perhaps the only chance they'll get to just be grandparents, not parents. I'm trying so hard to be sympathetic, but it feels like they're asking me to sacrifice my life for them. I am not a child person naturally. I worry if I could cope with 1 baby, let alone 3 children. And due to COVID lockdowns, I barely know them. My husband and I had an explosive argument last night. I kept pointing out problems like where would the kids sleep, and he just kept saying, we'll work it out. I don't know how to get through him while being sensitive over everything he has gone through. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It makes no sense him saying we'll work something out. When? Because it's happening right now and a solution needs to be found right now. Also, don't quit your job. Yeah, guess who will be doing all the working out? You, OP. Yes, do not under any circumstances quit your job. Who will be looking after these kids during the day? Does he have any idea how much childcare costs? Unless your brother-in-law left a trust for these kids, say goodbye to all your hopes and dreams for your future. Raising kids is hard, time-consuming, and expensive. At the minimum, these poor kids will need therapy. You have a long and hard road ahead of you raising kids who lost their parents at such a vulnerable age and who were removed from their home to live with strangers. Your husband has not thought this through at all. I'm pretty positive that if Opie removed herself from this situation, the grandparents would take those kids in. Opie's everyone's mule here. No a-holes here. This is a divorce-worthy issue from both sides. He's definitely not the a-hole for wanting to take care of his deceased brother's kids after he made a promise, and that might be relationship breaking if you say no. However, you're also not the a-hole for not wanting to take that on since they have another place to go. If they would go into foster care, you would be a huge a-hole. But if his parents can take them, it's okay to be upset, assuming they want to take them. If you love your husband, tread carefully with this. This is one of the few instances you may not be able to come back from. If her husband loves OP, he should tread carefully. He is absolutely the a-hole for agreeing to this without discussing it with her. This is way too big of an ask for just spring on someone. Not the a-hole. They are asking you to sacrifice your life. Your brother-in-law's will stating he wanted his brother to take the children is unenforceable. Your husband casually telling his brother sure was a serious mistake. As terrible as the circumstances, your husband does not get to tell you to sacrifice your life and your plans for having your own child. He does not get to tell you that you'll be spending the next decade or 2 doing laundry and cooking and homework help. Those children need to go to their grandparents. If you leave your husband over this, that's probably what will happen anyway. Your husband is being completely irresponsible and unrealistic. There is no way you can bring 3 small children into your home. Where are the children now? Did your brother make any financial arrangements like life insurance? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sticking up for my dad's relationship because his fiance is the same age as me? My father, 45 male, and I, 27 male, have always had a rocky relationship. As the eldest of 5, half-siblings including myself, different mothers, he practically made it my duty to be a good role model for them. I was forced to participate in almost every sport he could find a flyer for, as a good role model stayed active. I had to be a captain or leader of any extracurricular I joined, as good role models lead not follow. I was also not allowed to disobey my father or object to anything he said, as good role models understand that their parents know best. This created some resentment amongst my siblings. I am seen as daddy's golden boy rather than daddy's exhausted, vicariously lived through child. Recently, however, my father has set his sights on someone else. A woman. Let's call her Kit. Kit is nice enough. It's just that she and I are the same age, and I find that creepy. The only person I've voiced my opinion to is my older middle brother, Peter. Peter and I also have a rocky relationship, but we've found common ground on this matter. Peter suggested I tell our father how I felt as soon as I shared my thoughts with him, but I always brushed him off. That was until our family brunch yesterday. My father gleefully announced his plans to make Kit a permanent member of our family. They were engaged. He had proposed the previous night. I guess my brothers and I were not as excited as my father and Kit hoped would be, and they both became visibly upset. My dad demanded to know what the issue was. My eldest sibling instinct kicked in. I was about to try and defuse the situation, but Peter spoke first. The issue? The issue is she's the same age as your eldest child. My father and Kit were stunned. They looked at me before my father spoke again. Well, Opie doesn't have an issue with it, do you, Opie? The last part wasn't a question. He expected me to comply per usual. I didn't say anything though, as I didn't want to offend and upset him any further, but I didn't want to stick up for him either. I felt bad for Kit, as she was visibly embarrassed and quickly left the room. My father chased after her, and my brothers and I took that opportunity to collect our belongings and leave his home. Later that evening, he sent me a message letting me know how disappointed and hurt he was after I didn't stand up for him and Kit. He told me I wasn't acting like the role model he and my mother had raised me to be. But as the most worldly of my siblings, I spent my junior year abroad. I should know better. I didn't respond to his message. I asked anyone else if they'd received anything, and the collective answer was no. I feel horrible. On the one hand, I believe people should be allowed to love who they love. On the other hand, Kit was probably in diapers the same time I was. I love my dad, and he has done a lot for me over the years, but I'm 27 and tired of being his good role model. So am I the a-hole for not sticking up for my dad? Now for the top comments. How much longer are you going to allow your father to manipulate you? That was going to be my question. It seems to me that Opie has allowed himself to be manipulated his entire life. Now that he is an adult, it is on him to set the boundaries. I fear that Opie doesn't even know himself because he's been told what to do for his entire life. I'm surprised he got to his age without having blown up. Generally, I would have thought that once he got to his mid-teens, he would have rebelled against all of this. People thought I would blow up way earlier too. I didn't because I grew up in the evangelical church, so I was always had an intense underlying fear that my parents would just straight up get rid of me like a bag of puppies in the river if I rebelled. I think sometimes people get into that internalized helplessness loop just because 18 years is so long with no other examples around. And if you're afraid of not being fed/getting hurt, etc., it quickly gets Stockholm syndrome. You're the a-hole, but not for what you think. You're the a-hole because you are a peacemaker and conflict avoider. You never stick up for your values or what is right. On top of that, you still allow yourself to be used as pawn in your father's control and dare say emotional abuse of your siblings. It is time to figure out who you are and live your life by your own rules. Stop worrying about upsetting your father. Stick for what is right. Reading No More Mr. Nice Guy really helped me on this front. Last story. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my half-sister for transferring into my school? So I, 18 female, was pretty much abandoned by my own mom when I was a baby. She moved on with a new guy and had 2 kids, Tia 15 female and Ed 13 male. We all have the same last name because mom didn't marry my dad or their dad. When I was 7, they moved away and my mom never called her anything. She just phoned on my birthday if she remembered it and sent birthday cards with a cash and a picture of her and her family. I saw my grandma till last year when she died, because my dad didn't want me to lose a link to my mom. After grandma died, my mom got her house and they moved back, and their kids got admitted into the same school I go to. Okay, well, we're in all different grades, so it shouldn't be an issue as I can just avoid them. Well, apparently Tia was really good at basketball, so somehow she gets on the seniors team even though usually it's only grade 12s and 11s. Tia and Ed have reached out to me, but I quickly stopped acknowledging them at all beyond passing to her during a game because I don't want to be their sister. They have their perfect family and I don't want any of it anymore. Like, it sucks so much to see my mom come to our games, drop her off and cheer her on when I never got any of that. Honestly, I dip from games right away if I see her in the stands because I don't want to talk to her. Things kind of came to a head this week because they were taking photos for the yearbook for the basketball team and they were taking them alphabetical order based on last name. I do not want to even show up next to her in the yearbook. So when they lined us up, I told the PE teacher I was getting my surname changed to my dad's last name and got my place switched. Tia got really upset with me. And after the photos, tried arguing with me and I just got mad and told her to go complain to her mom. And she just called me an a-hole for never wanting to be her sister. The friends are split, with some saying I should give her a chance at least to avoid making things awkward at school, and my dad tells me I should reach out to my mom. But my cousins are all on my side and told me I did the right thing. And so school is kinda tense so far today because of it. I don't really know, so I'm coming here to find out if I'm the a-hole. Oh, and since I always see people say get therapy on here, I see a psychologist for my issues. Not the a-hole. You've been through a lot with your mother abandoning you, so it's normal not to want her children in your life. At 18 years old, you were living your teenage years, and it is not up to you to have to mend fences. Opie, you're not a-hole, but you're also taking out your mom issues on your bio siblings, and that's not okay. You should treat them with the kindness and respect you'd treat any of your other fellow students at the school. I suggest you take them both aside at lunch and tell them that you have nothing against them, but you don't feel like a sibling to them and you're not interested in a sibling relationship. You expect them to respect your position, and on your side, there are no hard feelings. Not the a-hole. If grandma didn't die, mom wouldn't have gotten the house. The kids wouldn't have transferred to your school and none of you would have been in contact with each other like it had been your entire life. If she wanted to be your friend and sister, why didn't she try for a relationship before all of this? Yeah, it's not like I don't have Instagram or Snap or even freaking Xbox Live. I can't even go back to my grandma's house because they all live there now. That sucks so much. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got everything that was left to me in her will. But it sucks not knowing what happened to my room there and not being able to remember my grandma where she lived and all. Update. My mom got a $30,000 personal loan in my name without my knowledge. The account is from February, which was when they bought a boat. Now, they've missed 4 payments and told me they're going to let it default since the boat can't be repossessed and they're going to call DCFS on me. Original post. I knew my mom had her eye on a pontoon boat for the past year. She and my dad retired in 2022, and while they aren't swimming in money, they didn't seem to be struggling either, or so I thought. They bought a boat in February for a little over $30,000. I didn't think much of it, since they've always rented a pontoon boat 2 to 3 times a year and didn't appear to have money issues. At the start of July, I began preparing to buy a house. When I applied for a pre-approval, I found out my credit score was barely over 600 and I had an extra $30,000 plus in debt I had no idea about. Even worse, it was 90 plus days late. I told the lender the account wasn't mine and he suggested my identity had probably been stolen, likely by someone close to me since the money would have had to go to a bank account in my name. I shared a bank account with my ex-fiance, so I asked the bank to look into it. They said the account had been closed a couple of years ago, when we broke up, and no money had been sent to or taken from it since. I filed a dispute with the company and the credit agencies, assuming I had been hacked or that my identity had been stolen. About a week ago, I received a notice from the company at my apartment, the first I'd heard from them, saying they were going to charge off the account if payment wasn't made. I requested more information and was linked to their fraud department. They were able to tell me where the money was sent, to a bank account from when I was a minor that I shared with my mom. When I called the bank, they confirmed there was recent activity on the account, and statements showed the loan coming in and almost all of the money being transferred into what looked like my mom's account at the same bank. I haven't used that bank in more than a decade. I called my mom and asked her about it, and after a long pause, she admitted that's how they bought the boat. They made one payment on the account and realized they probably couldn't afford the monthly payment for the next 5 years. When I asked why they hadn't told me, she said it was because they figured I'd say no, and they were right, and that they had worked hard in their lives and wanted to enjoy retirement. It ended with them saying the boat couldn't be repossessed because it was a personal loan. My mom suggested I declare bankruptcy, and I told them I was going to the police. My mom said no too, claiming they wouldn't take it seriously. When I insisted, she hinted she might have to call DCFS on me. My 2-year-old burned himself on a hot pan earlier this year. A simple ER visit where we were told accidents happen and is fine, over an unsafe home. I still think I'm going to the police because declaring bankruptcy would make it impossible for me to buy a house. I just needed to vent and get any advice. Now for the top comments before reading the update. She stole $30K, potentially ruined your financial future for 7 years, threatened to put your child in a situation where they could be taken and put in foster care. For a freaking pontoon boat? OP this right here. All this unnecessary suffering and stress over a pontoon boat? I'm sorry, but your mom sucks. Yep, this right here. It's all about enjoying their retirement. They're willing to hurt and abuse anyone who gets in the way of them having a nice retirement. Don't worry about the FCS. Chances are they will not investigate the report anyway. If they do, it's obnoxious, but these are 80% unfounded. You may need an attorney to represent you and file cease and desist letters that could turn into restraining orders. They stole $30,000 from you, and it was premeditated. They couldn't qualify for the loan themselves, so they stole the money from you instead, without asking. With a dollar amount, the DA is likely to press charges. I keep being shocked by parents who steal from their kids. This takes it to a fun new place with the threats of Child Protective Services. Please report this to the police. In addition, and tell them about the threats to contact Child Protection. For what it's worth, threats to file for grandparents' rights or to call CPS are a bright line for me. I would strongly recommend that you consider cutting contact with your parents or limiting their involvement with your family. They can't be trusted. Now for the update. I filed my police report the same day as my first post. The officer and I talked for about 20 minutes, and I provided a printed statement from the bank. A few days later, I spoke with a detective for another 20 minutes. Fast forward about 2.5 weeks, and my dad called to say my mom had been arrested. He said an officer and a detective showed up at their house asking to speak with her. When she went onto the porch, they grabbed her and arrested her. The detective, the same one I talked to, explained they had a warrant. My mom has never been in trouble with the law in her life, and she was arrested on a felony charge. They tried talking to her, but she immediately requested a lawyer. They stopped questioning her, but didn't allow her to see a lawyer right away. My dad was furious, but the detective told him to have a lawyer go to the county jail in the morning before she went to see the judge. The next morning, her lawyer spoke with her and she was released in the afternoon with a new court date. About a week later, I received a call from DCFS requesting to meet with me about my son. I had nothing to hide, so I agreed. He spoke for about half an hour at my apartment and I explained the situation. The caseworker seemed understanding and said there were no obvious issues, but she had to follow up on the report. I will say that if I'm ever in trouble, I'm hiring a lawyer. The case was dismissed at her next court date in late September. The detective called me the next day and explained that the state attorney believed they wouldn't be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she intentionally stole my identity. He said he figured it was a flimsy reason because he had documents from the bank and loan company. He mentioned that the state attorney often drops cases, even clear-cut ones, especially when it's non-violent and they have a hired attorney. She never made a statement other than having her attorney tell the detective she didn't do it. The detective also said the loan company might go after my mom in a lawsuit. What brings me back here is that, a couple of weeks ago, the account was removed from my credit report. Even better, I got a letter from DCFS yesterday stating that the allegation against me was unfounded. I'm never talking to my piece of trash mom again. Thank you to everyone who gave me advice and hope in my first post. It just sucks that she'll probably end up with a free boat out of it, unless the loan company sues her, which I hope they do. Send the loan company the address where the boat is kept, with a photo. The problem is, they took out a personal loan, not a boat loan. In other words, they borrowed cash in her name, then bought the boat with cash, so the boat is not collateral for the loan. They might be able to sue the parents, but they'd have to basically prove in civil court what the state's attorney would not bother prosecuting, which would probably cost more than $30,000 in legal fees. Personally, if my parents called DCFS on me for revenge, that would be the end of my relationship with them, never to revive again. I would never let them see the grandchildren. OP, freeze your children's credit too. Have a lawyer send a cease and desist letter stating, since you took out a loan in my name and then called in DCFS, you are no longer able to contact me or my child. Attach a copy of the loan papers and DCFS report. If she tries after that, look into a restraining order. Next story. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to subsidize my wife and kids anymore? Original post. All three of them are adults with full-time jobs. None of them have contributed financially to our household budget. My wife went back to work full-time when our youngest was 7. He is currently 24, and our oldest is 27. The kids have no student debt. Our retirement property is overseas, and that's where I am currently. 2 months ago, I finally had enough. I came home from an out-of-town work trip, and none of the food I requested be in the house was there. And it wasn't anything extravagant, just a loaf of sourdough, some deli meat, cheese, and a few condiments. Enough so I could make a sandwich before going grocery shopping. Apparently, that was too difficult for 3 adults to manage. My wife and I had an argument about it, and the kids took her side. I reminded them they were supposed to be contributing to the budget, but all 3 of them started whining about how expensive life is. No kidding, I'm working to support all 4 of us. Whatever, I made plans to go to our property on my next rotation. So after my time off, I went back to work. When I flew home, I just stayed at the airport overnight and flew out the next morning. I also didn't deposit money into the budget account, so now they're paying for everything. The house, my truck, and my wife's car are all fully paid off. They're covering their own utilities, property taxes, food, and bills. And they're all furious that I'm not giving them money. I'm good here. When I go back to work, I'll do the same thing. Stay overnight at the hotel and fly to work. My company even flew me to a more convenient city to fly out from. I think 3 adults with full-time jobs and a free place to live should do fine. I probably missed a bunch of information, but I'm a bit drunk, so feel free to ask questions. If they're not stupid, I'll answer. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. No, not the a-hole. What's your next move? It already sounds like you're separated. Is that becoming permanent? I don't know how to assist you, but I wish you the best of luck. I'd be curious what exactly is expensive when they all work full-time and have no rent or car payments to make. If their electricity bills divided by 3 are so high it eclipses a rent payment, they should use less. If they spend their money on food deliveries and shopping, too bad, so sad. Not anymore. Not the a-hole, but you probably should have made your kids adults long before this. From what you wrote, they appear to live with you and don't have much going for them. Yep, sounds like some parenting failure. Kind of made the situation is now like you guys didn't leave me sandwich stuff. That's it. Good luck. Convo should have been had 10 years ago. Are you even sure they're paying for things like the property taxes and other bills? Are they under your name? Because you might want to switch it out so they don't let it just go into collection and you end up with a bill. I work with a guy who taught me a very important thing. There's a huge difference between a problem and my problem. Now for the update. I woke up and read so many more comments than I expected. Many of them made me think, I really don't love my wife anymore. I love my kids, but they are leeches. I will be contacting a lawyer and initiating a divorce. I also will be pulling the plug on my retirement plans with them. I have enough money to last me the rest of my life here. I also have a defined benefit pension, but it won't kick in for another 5 years. Part of the reason I was working so hard away from home was to provide for my family. But now I see they don't give a half damn about me. I'll be offering my wife the house in North America and my truck in return for a fast divorce. I think that's fair. I'll keep my home down here. The other option would be to liquidate and split everything, but she spent 30 years getting the house how she wants it, so I doubt she'll go for that. If she wants to keep the house, I guess that'll be up to her and the kids now. Thanks for helping me turn a drunken rant into a life decision. I was probably headed that way, but an outside perspective crystallized my thoughts. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my sister's college when I'm paying for my fiance's? So I, 29 male, grew up dirt poor. Like sharing meals and lights off half the month poor. My parents did their best, but with 5 of us, money was always tight. I hustled like crazy after high school, went to community college, then transferred to a good university while working full-time. I graduated with loans but landed a solid job in tech. Fast forward a decade and now I've got a good income and no debt. My fiance, 26 female, is finishing her degree. She's been working too, but with her schedule and the cost of school, I offered to pay for her last 2 semesters so she could focus and graduate without loans. I want us to start our marriage on solid ground, so I don't mind helping her out. Enter my younger sister, 21 female, who's still in college. She recently found out I'm paying for my fiance's tuition and flipped, saying if I can afford that, I should help her too. She's always been bitter about me getting out and doing well while she and the rest of my family are still struggling. I get it, but here's the thing. I've worked hard to be where I am, and I feel like my fiancé and I are building a future together. My sister and I aren't close, and it feels like she's asking out of entitlement, not need. Now, my parents have chimed in, saying it's family first and I'm abandoning them. I don't think I owe anyone anything, especially since I've already helped out when I could, paid off their electric bill last winter, etc. I'm torn. I don't want to be a selfish jerk, but I also don't want to set a precedent of being the family ATM. Am I the a-hole? Your fiancé is your family. Remind your parents and sister of that. You think he is an ATM? Better not to give a single penny. Exactly. Once you start, they'll expect it every time. Better to set boundaries now than deal with guilt trips forever. Tell them, yes, family first. That is why I am prioritizing the family fiancé and I are building and the family we will be creating. Yes, family first means focusing on the family OP and his fiancé are building together. He's prioritizing a future they're creating, which is exactly what he should be doing. Not the a-hole. You don't have to take care of your adult sister. You're not her husband, nor her father. She is an adult and can handle her own things. I'd go low contact with the entire family if I were you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that my stepdad was cheating with our neighbor and ruining their marriage? So I, 19 female, found out my stepdad was cheating on my mom, and now my whole family thinks I'm the bad guy. Here's what happened. I was at a coffee shop the other day, just grabbing a latte and trying to chill. As I am sitting there, I see my stepdad walk in. Nothing weird at first, I just assumed he was getting coffee too. But then our next door neighbor walks in right behind him and they sit down together. They were super close, and at first I thought maybe it was just a friendly catch-up. But then they started holding hands across the table. And at one point, he leaned over and kissed her. Right there, in the middle of the cafe. I felt sick. My mom has been through so much, and I couldn't believe he'd do this to her. I tried to tell myself it wasn't real, but I knew I had to let her know. So I snapped a couple of photos on my phone, just in case she needed proof, and later that night I showed her. She was devastated, obviously. I mean, who would it be? She ended up confronting him, and things have been a mess since then. She's been talking about leaving him and they're arguing all the time. Now here's where it gets worse. Somehow everyone in my family found out what happened and they all think I made a huge mistake by telling her. My aunts and uncles are saying I shouldn't have gotten involved, that it was a grown-up issue, and that I basically ruined their marriage. They keep saying my mom and stepdad would have worked things out eventually and that I'm the reason they're falling apart. I'm honestly so confused and hurt by all this. I really thought I was doing the right thing by not letting my mom stay in the dark, but now everyone's making me feel like I made everything worse. So, am I the a-hole for telling my mom about the affair and ruining their marriage? Not the a-hole. He did wrong. You looked out for your mom, but you are being used as scapegoat. Thank you. He is a total a-hole. If you kept this secret for your stepdad, your mom would feel betrayed by you when it all came out later. Sooner or later, everything comes out. So, most of your family thinks cheating should be kept secret? What a family you have. Perhaps there is more cheating and everyone is afraid you will squeal on them too. I would ask them straight up if they think what he did was fine and if they think cheating is okay. Yeah, they're probably cheaters as well. Update. I've eloped a week earlier because my parents and my sister's boyfriend were planning a surprise engagement on my wedding day. Original post. Maybe this is the wrong place, but I'm going to explode with rage and disappointment at my family. My baby sister is the golden child, or maybe that's unfair to say. She survived cancer when she was a child. It was the darkest period of my parents' lives. I don't remember much of it because my parents shielded me from the horrific truth. I knew she was sick, and I remember spending my childhood in hospitals, but I never knew that my sister had almost died until many, many years later. I was 12, and she was 10. After she beat her sickness, she became the obvious favorite in the house. She got everything she wanted, and sometimes it was at my expense. I resented that, but I was always told that I was a naughty girl for being jealous of my hero's sister. My sister grew up to be a brat. Now, 20 years later, she's still bratty, although we get along a lot better than when we were teenagers and young adults. My wedding is in July. Neither my fiance nor I have the money for a big wedding. We settled on a small wedding, 30 people, at my fiance's grandparents' house, which has a beautiful lake view. When my parents heard this, they said, "No way," and offered to pay for a bigger wedding at a better venue. We didn't agree at first, but later we didn't want to disappoint them. It seemed important to them. Last week, my mom invited me over. My dad, mom, and my sister's boyfriend asked me what I would think if my sister's boyfriend proposed to my sister during my wedding, turning it into an engagement party as well. My mom has seen Instagram reels of people proposing to maids of honor or bridesmaids and thought it was cute. My sister is my maid of honor. I said, "No, that's ridiculous," and I laughed. My mom was livid. She told me I was selfish and ungrateful, and I accused her of favoritism. I told her I'd always thought it was odd that she was paying for my wedding, but now I knew the reason why. She started crying and kicked me out of the house. Later, both she and my future brother-in-law sent me texts, warning me not to expose their plan to my sister. My fiancé was disappointed, but wasn't sure what we could do. My parents have already spent almost $30,000, and it's too late to cancel. My mother called me today to plan the proposal, and I begged her not to ruin my day. She told me that since she was paying, she could make requests, and that I should let go of my jealousy and resentment toward my sister because she's innocent in all of this. But the thing is, this day will be about my sister. I told my fiancé to ask his grandparents if they're still willing to host our wedding. If they are, I'll revert to our original plan. If not, I will just elope. Not sure yet if I'm going to tell my family and cancel the wedding, or just let them have their grand proposal party. None of my family is invited to my wedding, including my sister. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Uninvite them. Go do the wedding at the grandparents' house, and let your sister and parents have a $30,000 engagement party. Great that your sister survived cancer, but your parents put you on the back burner your whole life. Now it's your turn to enjoy your moment. Do what's best for you. This is an awesome suggestion because it's what they were planning all along. This is all very messed up. It reminds me of the Reddit story where a girl was graduating from college and her parents decided to go to her younger sibling's prom instead. WTF? What is wrong with some of these parents? That's messed up. And you are right, this was all pre-planned. If you do have it at your fiance's grandparents' house, will you invite your family? It seems like they can't stand for you to be the center of attention, even on a day that should be about you. I won't. I'm done. They have no right to try to force this on your wedding. I've had a lot of medical issues throughout my childhood, including cancer, and still do as an adult. I always felt guilty that my little brother spent so much time in the hospital or staying with my aunts. Once I was healthier, we shifted the attention back to him as the baby of the family. One year, I was in the hospital with cancer, and he spent his 7th birthday with our aunts. We had a mini party at the hospital on the weekend, and one of my dad's employees made him a WWE cake as a gift. Then, when I was back home, everyone decided to throw him a big birthday party at the park. He got a lot of gifts and felt much better about not spending his birthday with us. My parents always made sure we all had the same amount of attention and love. I'm sorry that your parents didn't do that for you. I don't blame you for uninviting them to your wedding. This is supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life, and they don't deserve to be there if they can't let it be about you and your fiancé. I'd elope, but don't cancel the venue and show up in jeans and a t-shirt for the engagement party. I like this. Now for the update. I really want to thank everyone who showed me support. I'm now happily married and in Como, Italy for my honeymoon. I tried to stay away from my phone, but I was so curious to see my family's reaction to my elopement a week earlier than planned. It was really ugly. I must start by saying that I really tried my best to negotiate and compromise with my family and truly explain that this was hurting me. I have nothing against my sister and, to be honest, nothing against her getting engaged at my wedding. But the fact that it was made very clear to me that I had absolutely no opinion or say in what was going to happen on what was supposed to be my special day was where I drew the line. It wasn't a wish or a request, it was a matter of fact. And it had already been decided. So, I told my mom that I was not going to attend the party she had paid for. Maybe they should just make it an engagement party instead. She got very upset and told me that the engagement was supposed to be a surprise. I told her I was just giving her a heads up since she was about to lose an insane amount of money. She didn't take me seriously, as if I was going to cancel my wedding over something so trivial. What she didn't know was that I had already made plans to get married a week earlier at my grandparents-in-law's house. We invited our closest friends, and some even had to book earlier flights and take more vacation days. I was extra grateful to them. The last thing left was my sister. I had been going back and forth, arguing and negotiating with my parents and future brother-in-law. I decided that even if it would ruin her surprise, I had to tell her, so I did. She wasn't happy with my mom, but she was more upset that I ruined her surprise. And as I expected, she thought I could just suck it up and gone with the flow. I didn't tell her about my new wedding date. The wedding was dreamlike. In the back of my mind, I was hurt that the people who loved me the most weren't there, but I pushed that thought away and refused to let it ruin our day. My husband was amazing. He promised to make me happy for the rest of my life and to make up for every heartbreak I've experienced in my past. My in-laws surprised us by upgrading our honeymoon to a 5-star hotel. I had my friends, some cousins, and my favorite aunt attending. We asked them not to live stream or upload any pictures to social media until we were already on our honeymoon. We also asked them not to engage in any online altercations with my family. Today, my mom made long Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram posts bashing me and my husband, calling me ungrateful and disrespectful while posting pictures of my wedding. She told people that I had cost her a big chunk of her savings and was now demanding compensation. Her Facebook post was shared about 200 times, and the majority of my extended family is angry with me. She never once tried to contact me. I really thought she would bombard my phone. Instead, both she and my dad announced that they were cutting me off and were expecting compensation. Future brother-in-law commented that I ruined his surprise, and my sister made a post about being tired of jealous bees and haters. None of the people we invited have commented, even though some of them were directly attacked, so they respected our wishes. I don't know if they're going to go ahead and turn the wedding into an engagement party now. I really hope they do so the money isn't wasted. It's on Saturday. I'm sorry the update got too long, but with the number of people asking for one, I hope this was what you wanted. When will people realize how tacky and disrespectful it is to propose to someone at someone else's wedding? Good on OP for moving her wedding date and making sure that her family didn't ruin her special day. This was supposed to be her day, not her sister's. It is ridiculous that her family was telling her she should just accept it as if they were doing her a favor by pulling this kind of stunt. The entitlement is ridiculous. Trust me, they know. Everyone knows. Some people are just that self-involved that they don't care, and others do it as a deliberate slight. The sister and brother-in-law are too self-involved to care, but her parents did it deliberately. They wanted her to know she's second tier. They clearly wanted to steal the spotlight, and that's all there is to it, I guess. Even if it's distasteful to everyone else, it makes them feel better about themselves. They want to shine at the expense of making OP play second fiddle. I hope OP doesn't feel obligated to pay her parents back, since they were the ones to insist on a big party and they still had it without her. They'd have to sue OP for it, and Mom would be laughed right out of the courtroom. I mean, fingers crossed they will laugh her out of everywhere. Next story. I'm not adding my stepmom's extended family to my wedding guest list. I, 26 female, will be getting married next year. My fiance and I are paying for the wedding ourselves with no help from anyone. This includes my dad and stepmom, as well as my maternal side, who are all invited and a big part of my life. With that out of the way, I want to know if I'm wrong here. My dad and stepmom got married when I was 10, which was 2 years after my mom died. It wasn't long after their wedding that my stepmom's family got annoyed on her behalf, that she wasn't treated like a member of my mom's family, and that I called her my stepmom instead of my mom. They felt my stepmom deserved more respect from my mom's family, even though my mom's family didn't have an issue with any of them at that point. They just called her what she is, my stepmom. Things got really bad when my dad threw me a sweet 16. He didn't want to invite my mom's family because he said it would make my stepmom and her family uncomfortable. I asked who the party was for and said they didn't have to come if they had an issue with my family being there. My stepmom told her family, and they put all the blame on my mom's family. They acted so offended that I would prefer to have my actual family there over people who were sort of family, but never really felt like my family. There's a really good chance that having everyone at the wedding would lead to attempts at fights. But even without that, I really don't have a connection to my stepmom's family. I don't hate them, but I don't see them as my third family either. My stepmom is close to her family though, and wants them at the wedding. For me, it's less of a headache not to invite them, and it also feels less greedy. Inviting people I would quickly lose touch with if my dad divorced or died, and who I don't care for personally, seems greedy, like a gift grab. I put my foot down and said no to adding them to the guest list, which upset my stepmom. My dad offered to pay 100% of the cost for my stepmom's extended family. He told me it means they're sorta his guests instead of mine, but they'd still be there. I asked him if he'd keep them on a short leash so they wouldn't start fights. I also asked if he'd make it clear that they wouldn't be in family photos. He admitted they would need to be included to prevent hurt feelings and more trouble, and he said he can't control adults, so I told him my no was still solid. My dad and stepmom think I'm being a bridezilla about this. Am I? Now for the comments. Nah, you're not being a bridezilla at all. Your wedding? Your guest list. It's clear you're not excluding them out of spite. You just don't have a meaningful relationship with them, and their presence could create unnecessary drama. The fact that your dad can't even guarantee they won't start trouble just proves your point. You're paying for your own wedding, which means you get to decide who's there. If your stepmom wants them at an event so badly, she can host her own gathering. Stay firm on your boundaries. You're making the right call. As much as my dad wants to please his wife, he can't deny how much her family hates my maternal side. He also knows they like to confront my maternal side whenever they see them, and a wedding would give them hours to do just that. They don't appear to realize that none of that makes me like them more, and it doesn't win me over to their side. They've spent years making things uncomfortable for you and your mom's family, but now expect a front row seat at your wedding like they've been nothing but supportive? You're setting a boundary, and that doesn't make you a bridezilla. It makes you someone who values peace on your big day. Tell your dad this. Are you willing to ruin your relationship with me over this? If so, don't come to the wedding, because you are making things worse and not supporting me. Stop forcing me to do things I don't want to do on my happy day. That involves my family while I'm standing in for my mom who isn't here. Your father is an ass. He's failed you. I agree. OP, Dad should know that his daughter's feelings and decision is important in this occasion, not theirs. Last story. Told my brother's girlfriend that she's weird AF. I, female 19, and my twin brother have what I would consider a normal brother-sister relationship. We both still live at home with our parents and have similar hobbies. We're not attached at the hip or anything like that, but when we're both chilling at home, we'll often play video games together or do something we both enjoy. For example, we both like those intricate Lego sets, and we'll help each other build them while we just chat about stuff. But we have separate lives and do different things too. My brother now has a girlfriend, which is great. I'm happy for him. I myself have a boyfriend who I've been with for the last year or so. My brother has been with his girlfriend for the last couple of months. Whenever my boyfriend comes over, my brother is kind to him and they really get along, so they've become friends, which is nice. But then my boyfriend and I go and do our own things. It's not like my brother is some third wheel in my relationship. Like I said, we have separate lives, but it's nice that my boyfriend and my brother get along. I'd love to have the same dynamic with his girlfriend, but she just doesn't like me. I try, but I get nothing from her. And it's not a case of her being shy or anything. There's tension there for some reason. I can feel it. Though I try to push it aside and be nice to her, it's very clear she has no interest in being my friend or even talking to me. She turned up at our house yesterday. My brother wasn't actually expecting her, but he invited her in. We were in the middle of a game that wouldn't take much longer, so he said, "I'll just finish this with sis, and then we can go chill or do something." She rolled her eyes slightly and sat down on the sofa next to him in the living room, while we finished up this two-player thing. When we were done, not even 10 minutes later, he handed me the other controller and she side-eyed me and said, "Finally." So I just decided to say something. I'll literally write how the conversation went. Me: "Do you have some kind of problem with me?" Her: "No." Me: "Seems like you do. Why did you side-eye me then? And why are you always so weird with me?" Her: "You two are always together. It's weird." Me: looks at my brother, then back at her. "We're actually not. Believe it or not, we have our own lives." Her: "Always seems like you're together, all the time." My brother, at her, uncomfortable with this interaction. "Babe." Me: "He is my brother. We live in the same house." Laughs. Her: gets annoyed that I laughed. "Whatever, it's weird." Me: "No, you're freaking weird." Turns away to boot up another game to play by myself. Her storms off upstairs. My brother follows her. I didn't see them for another few hours. Then they went out and he stayed at her place that night. Today he came home, and I wouldn't say he was annoyed at me, but he let me know that his girlfriend was upset that I called her weird, and now feels like she can't come over here anymore, which is really dramatic to be honest. I explained to him that she is weird for whatever problem she seems to have with me and him. I asked him, "Do you ever see my boyfriend getting weird about you and me?" He said no, and that I had a point. I told him she treats me like I'm some kind of threat, and that's weird. I've been nothing but nice to her, and she gives me nothing back. He admitted he had noticed that. I told him his relationships are none of my business, but she's weird AF for the way she is with me. I also said I'd be willing to talk to her, or maybe he should, to see why she's like this. I have no idea what her problem is. She's jealous of his sibling. Is she jealous of your mother too? Is any woman allowed to talk to him? If he stays with her, he's so screwed. She's crazy. It really seems she's insecure and projecting that onto you. If she's jealous of a sibling, who knows where it'll loop? Your brother should be careful about staying with someone so controlling. My brother had a girlfriend like this. She hated it when he would talk to me if she was at our house and would always interrupt to put his attention back on her. He was in my wedding and wearing a tux, so she wore a white dress and tried to get my photographer to take a bunch of pictures of them. He went on to marry her. Then he divorced her and was happy again. OP should encourage her brother to move on, because it's cheaper than paying for a wedding and a divorce later. She was out of line for acting like your normal sibling relationship is some kind of problem. It's weird that she feels threatened by you just spending time with your brother in your own home. You didn't say anything out of line. She kept pushing and you just called it like it is. If she can't handle being around you because of that, that's on her. It's a green flag that he has a great relationship with his sister. Girlfriend is a dum-dum.